Welcome back. Tata Group acquired Kochi-based Kottaram Agro Foods, the owner of Soulfull, back in early 2021, and it has been subsequently rebranded as Tata Soulfull, a 100% subsidiary of TCPL. Now, over the past year and a half, Tata Soulfull is on a mission of reviving the consumption of the Indian millets on a day-to-day basis. They have also a strong millet-based product pipeline. So what is their approach and strategy to go beyond urban markets and create a niche for themselves in the highly competitive breakfast and healthy snacking space? We are catching up with Prashant Parameswaran, MD and CEO of Tata Soulfull, to find out more.
Prashant, welcome to CNBC-TV18.
Thank you so much for having me.
Tata Soulfull is fairly a new player into this whole breakfast cereals and this healthy snacking space. So how exactly are you creating a niche for yourself?
Our vision and our mission is, how do we make India's ancient grains, in other words, millets, how do we make them relevant to the 21st century consumer? This is our clear reason to being. This is what we are offering to consumers. And if you see the part is, it's not just about bringing back millets, but is making them relevant to the 21st century consumer. And that's really how we are, slicing and dicing various sets of the categories, various places and products that we really offer to the consumers. So we have a very, very clear way of how we are entering categories. We don't get into just a classic Me Too, but we use millets as not just from a health perspective, but also from delivering what we call our genuine taste forward approach.
So Prashant, over the past 2 years of the pandemic, we have seen that there is an increased health awareness. People are thinking healthy, eating healthy, snacking healthy. So that has triggered this whole consumption of, products such as yours to increase and the penetration to increase from single digits to double digits. But it is still a long way to go, considering, a market like ours, where every region has its own breakfast and snacking options. So what will drive growth in the coming days, apart from these 2 years of the pandemic, and what will drive growth beyond the urban markets to, let's say, smaller towns and smaller cities?
So Shivani, that's a great question, right? And I think it's very, very important that we understand India/Bharat, as we always call it, because there is a whole amount of market that is there outside of the top 8, top 16, 18 cities, however we want to slice and dice. And I think it's very, very important, because if our mission and vision is about making millets mainstream, ensuring that we are bringing it to as many tables, as many hands as possible, it is very, very important that we see the entire spectrum. What COVID did is, what I just say is like it's like the starting of that 100-meter sprint of a long marathon. So that's just the starting piece. And you very, very rightly put it, where the realization really started kicking in. Now what becomes important is, for brands such as ours, is how do we then further continue that momentum? How do you further that entire piece? And not just from, just building out the distribution, but bringing it into the kind of affordability that becomes very, very important. Just last 2 days, I was in the markets of Orissa. And as we were traveling further and further, it becomes very important that we are, accessible price points are very, very important, because, it really comes down to disposable income. It comes down to all of that. Even in an urban center, we see that, but it becomes more and more pronounced as we leave the city centers. And I think that's a very important piece, that you don't just end up, offering the large packs, higher price packs, but you bring what we call LUP and lower unit price packs that really are very, very important for consumers to really try. And again, one piece that people assume that, they will start with a small pack and then they will upgrade. That doesn't necessarily have to be the case, right? And that's the beauty of a country like India, where basically people say, I have a lot of wants, I have only X amount of a disposable income, so I'd like to have them in small pieces. We've seen them with a classic shampoo, as we've always seen the entire sachet business. And I think it becomes very important to say, how does then that become and build a very, very strong business model as well? So I think finding that balance becomes very key. Growth, very, very interestingly, beyond the top 18 cities is at a very rampant space.
Also, the point that you made on, getting in the small packs, it's not just about trial, but somebody doesn't have that kind of a disposable income. And that has also led to many of these fairly established players such as Kellogg's and Baggeries to launch smaller SKUs and focus a lot on their distribution strategy in these smaller cities and towns. What are you doing in that direction? If you can share some insights.
I like to look at this as chapters of a book called Soulful. And so the first chapter was we were in the key cities, we were in modern trade, we expanded ourselves into cities, we took ourselves to around 10,000-15,000 stores. We were very clear that this is only going to get us till a place. We've got a proof of concept, and that's where the integration with Tata Consumer happened. And essentially what we then had was the entire sales and distribution network that sells tea and salt into the entire country. And just to give you some data points, we moved from 15,000 stores to around maybe 1.5 lakh to 2 lakh stores in a period of around 8 to 12 months. And today, and further on from there, today we are close to around 4 lakh stores. And for us to be moving, and we are still going to, we have very, very aggressive distribution plans. And obviously, when you start, crossing the 50,000, 60,000 stores, the 10 rupee price point becomes a very, very important. So the LUP becomes a very important price point. Some places it is about trials, but a lot of places it's going to be the consumption. And I don't believe that it's going to be that the 10 rupee will then become a 100 rupee purchase. It'll happen in some cases, but more likely than not, how does that become a key? So absolutely, that is a growth driver piece. That is a distribution game that we are also going to be playing so that they're able to reach the masses. And what better than a place like TCPL where, salt, tea, all of them are going to all the nooks and corners of the world, of India.
Great. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Shivani. It was a pleasure talking to you as well.
Moving on, Zomato Live is the events business of food tech company Zomato. They also have Zomaland, which is a subscription-based event designed for feeding India with an aim to address the issue of malnutrition and other health issues related to nutrition deficiency. This event was recently held in Mumbai, and on the sidelines of it, I caught up with Chaitanya Mathur, Global Head Live at Zomato, along with Apurva Pandey, AVP Growth and Marketing at Zomato, speaking on Zomato's strategy behind entering into the experiential marketing segment with Zomato Live back in 2018 and how has it worked for the brand so far and also the way forward for it.
So welcome to CNBC-TV18.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So Chaitanya, let's begin this conversation with you. We are speaking to each other around the time of Zomaland. Tell us the reason for Zomato to get into this entire experiential marketing space back in 2018 and how has it fared so far?
I think the journey began, like you said correctly, in 2018. And the reason for this was that we've always been an online platform. And we realized that I think having some footing in the offline space and in the world out there, actually interacting with our customers was essential to the organization. Also putting out what we do in the app, say search and discovery, or actually getting to know more about our services was something we wanted to take to an offline measure. I come from the experience of building food festivals and events. And I think that just got married into what we were doing in Zomato. And hence we launched Zomaland. Zomaland is a carnival of food and entertainment. We have 7 cities this year, 3 already done, fully sold out, and 4 more to go.
Apurva, over to you. What is the kind of impact of all of this on the perception of brand Zomato?
What we cater towards is, or what we expect is to build brand love and mental availability, right? So these are the 2 vectors or the 2 metrics that we, expect of a good outcome, out of whatever we are doing.
Okay. Apurva, other food delivery platforms are very aggressive when it comes to their marketing initiatives. What is Zomato doing in this direction? What are the kind of marketing initiatives and activities that we will see from the brand in the coming months?
So we have always appreciated what the competition and the category is doing. We have always learned from it, taken the good things and, and seen how it has played out. But we've also been kind of immune, in the past few years and the past few months of what is happening. But what at the end of it, what happens is if the competition and category is aggressive, it builds the food tech category, right? From Zomato's perspective, our strategy and initiatives are deeply rooted and anchored, around customer behaviors, right? Elevating customer experiences, providing the best value. So there's a lot of on-ground activations, a lot of marketing, activities and strategies made, keeping the customer at the center.
Yeah, that's great. And Chaitanya, finally, before we go, events are back to how we used to know it back in 2019. If you can share with us, what are the plans for Zomato Live in the coming months, and what will we see in terms of events, in terms of lives in the coming days?
I think we're seeing a far higher consumption of people at events. A lot more people want to get out. India alone is doing 3,000 plus events in this sort of quarter of October to December. It is incredible to see the live industry come up, not just for Zomato Live, but in overall as an industry and within the country. Zomato Live, though, has launched Zomaland in 7 cities. We might be scaling this at the highest from a post-pandemic perspective for any IP in the country. As we move forward, we're also looking at various different new properties to do. Feeding India concert is one of them, with our charity partner as Feeding India. And we're looking at maybe getting into regional cuisine spaces, maybe some campus-related shows. Who knows what the market is going to demand for, and we will definitely come in on the supply side.
Well, all the best for that. Thank you so much. Thanks, both of you, for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you, Shivani.
With that, it's a wrap on Storyboard this week. You can catch all of our content on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Thanks for watching. We will be back same time next week. See you soon.